Welcome. This is Carl Reed on the 247Sports YouTube channel. Before we get started, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to 247Sports YouTube page. Today we're going to do Reed Ranks, and I'm going to go over 5 guys that I think have an outstanding chance to be at the Heisman Trophy ceremony at the end of the season. We're going to start off here with number 5. Jackson Dart, quarterback, Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin has put together a monster class. They're going to be in the thick of things in the SEC this year. Jackson Dart leading Lane Kiffin's offense. He's going to have them in position to win. He is showing that he's the perfect fit for what Kiffin wants to do. One of the very best play callers college football has to offer. I think we're going to have a special season this year with Jackson Dart in the Ole Miss football program. Number 4, Carson Beck, Georgia quarterback. Georgia's going to be on a mission this year, as you can see from what they did to Florida State in the bowl game. And in order for Georgia to win a national championship again this year, Carson Beck is going to have to play some of his best football. The best player on what should be the preseason number 1 team is always a safe bet to make it into the Heisman Trophy conversation. Carson Beck took over last year for Stetson Bennett and did big things. He's got a good core group of receivers this year. I look for Carson Beck at Georgia to make major noise this season. Number 3, Colorado quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. I know what you're all going to say. You're going to say, Reed, Primetime's your guy. That's why Shedeur's here. No, Shedeur Sanders can flat out play football. He can make all the throws. His leadership is unquestioned, and all eyes will again be in Colorado on the Colorado football team. Every voter's going to get an opportunity to see this young man. Expect a big year for Shedeur Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. Number 2, Luther Burden, one of the top returning players in the country. I thought he should have got some consideration a year ago. Luther is dynamic. He does a lot of things. He doesn't just line up at the X on the receiver. He can play in the slot. Has a game that resembles 49ers Deebo Samuels. He can do it all. He can return kicks. He can catch it across the middle of the field. He can go deep. Excellent return man. Luther Burden is going to be in the mix this year for the Heisman Trophy. Number 1, Travis Hunter, in my opinion, is the best overall player in college football. Offense, defense, playing both ways in every single game. If you get a healthy Travis Hunter for the full season, you're going to see one of the most spectacular performances that you've seen yet in college football. Travis Hunter, there's been nobody to be able to do what he does and play as many snaps as he does. Look for more of the same. If Hunter is healthy this year, I expect for him to be big in the Heisman Trophy conversation. Here's the recap of our 5 guys. Now, I'm going to welcome in my colleague, Mr. Smoke Dixon. Smoke, let's talk about it. I see you over there shaking your head. Tell me.
Well, I appreciate the welcome, but that welcome was with Travis. When was the last time that we had a two-way player win the Heisman Trophy? You don't want to get to it. I got you. That was Charles Woodson. 1997, they won a national championship. And he had his Heisman moment. So I'm going to ask you flat out right now. You said health is a big part of it. Playing all those snaps, it's hard to stay healthy. But you're going to have to explain to me what's going to be Travis Hunter's Heisman moment. Give it to me.
Well, it could be anything because he plays on both sides of the ball. So he's going to have an opportunity to make big plays on defense, maybe shutting down the number 1 receiver, having a couple pick sixes, and he's also going to have opportunities in the passing game with a top-level quarterback throwing on the ball. We never know when the Heisman moment is coming, but we do know that the opportunities are going to be there. And great players, Smoke, they steal those moments out of thin air. When you're watching the game, you're saying, that's it. We don't know when it's going to happen, but we know they're going to have the opportunity to make it happen.
So he's going to have to steal votes from his teammate that's throwing in the ball. They also got a kid over there named Will Shepard. Will can go with it too. But that's a tough one. I'm going to let you ride with that. Now we got to get to number 2. Mr. Burden. I know that you're home in St. Louis over everybody, Missouri over everything in the world. But out of all the receivers in the nation, Deebo Samuels was never, ever in the conversation of ever being a Heisman Trophy winner. How do you find a way to get this guy in there over so many other receivers that's electric and can go?
Smoke, have you watched tape this last season on Luther Burden? Have you seen him play football? Have you seen the NFL projections of him being a top 10 pick? Do you mean to tell me that a guy who's going to be arguably the first receiver taken in the draft next year does not have the ability to win the Heisman Trophy? Yes, he is from my hometown of St. Louis, and you are right. It is St. Louis versus everybody. But this is the first chance since maybe Ezekiel Elliott played that a guy from St. Louis had an opportunity to win the Heisman. Luther Burden is the real deal. You better ask all of those defensive coordinators in the SEC. I think you know a few of them.
So you have Luther Burden, Travis Hunter going at it right now. 5 reps. Who you got?
Oh, you going to put me on the spot like that, Smoke?
That's what we're doing.
Hey, listen to this. It's going to be an interesting matchup. But I might get on the phone and see if I can make that happen this offseason and see if we can do it.
See, Reed, you know you're already down in my bets already. We're down 2-0. This is going to be 3 now. We'll have a little offside. We'll have a little conversation.
Go ahead. You know we'll have some action.
Now we got Mr. Sanders, Shedeur Sanders. I don't disagree with you, but he's going to have to split the votes up with his teammate. What's going to be his Heisman Trophy moment with that schedule that you look at, that he's going to have to throw for 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, stay healthy, and did they fix that offensive line yet?
Well, if you've been following recruiting like everybody else here at our station, you know that they've made some key additions on the offensive line. And if that line holds up, which has been completely reconstructed, and I'll know because I'll be out there in a couple weeks for spring practice, so I'll be able to give you more information then. But if that line holds up, you know that Shedeur has proven when protected, he can make every single throw on the chart.
Now I'm going to leave number 4 alone because number 4, we're going to talk about smoke listen a few. But let's get to number 5, Jackson Dart. Where did you pull this dart from?
Lane Kiffin has for the last decade been a tremendous play caller. And if you look at the Heisman Trophy, sometimes can be a team award. Ole Miss this year with the transfer portal in recruiting, they pushed all their chips to the middle of the table and they're going after a national championship. Jackson Dart is going to put up video game numbers this year in an offense that's explosive for a quarterback. There's no question that Jackson Dart will be week in and week out in the Heisman conversation.
Now, you know this is a quarterback and a running back trophy. No running backs on your list, Coach? You couldn't find one?
When is the last time a running back has won the Heisman?
Well, the great alma mater, 2. Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry.
When Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry won the Heisman, I might have I was graduating high school. That's a long time ago, Smoke.
Well, you know, history.
All my hair was black when those 2 guys won the Heisman Trophy.
Well, you're trying to repeat history by putting a 2-way player in there. You couldn't have thrown a running back somewhere?
No, we've never seen anybody like Hunter in terms of the way he plays 2 ways. But I see you politicking for a running back. What running back do you think belongs in this conversation?
Well, I'm going to address your first question. We've never seen another player that can play both sides and impact the game. I know that I'm 43. You can try to pretend like you're 30-something. But Charles Woodson didn't impact the game?
That was in 1997. I didn't say we haven't, but in 1997, that's when Charles Woodson played. So the guys that are watching football now, not many guys even remember Charles Woodson. Go ask a group of high school kids, have they seen Charles Woodson play? And he won the Heisman, and he did play both ways. He played offense, though. He spot played a little bit. Nobody has played the amount of reps that Travis Hunter's played, and that's different.
And that's what's going to hurt him, playing all those reps. You and I both know that you can't play those many reps, stay healthy, have production, and also go to the playoffs and become a factor.
You moving the goalpost. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about is it possible? We're talking about all things equal, everybody's being healthy, who the best players are.
Well, listen.
He's the best player.
This hold up and give me a minute. Let me breathe on it real quick. Let me put a little bit of smoke on you real quick, Carl. I'm going to run down my list, 1 to 5. I'm going to run. Here we go. Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Dylan Gabriel. Weapons out there. We know that you're in the Big Ten. You got the West Coast folks, Midwest, and you got those East Coast folks going to be great. Ollie Gordon III. There's an opportunity for this young man to have 2,000 yards, get his team into the playoffs, and become one of the better running backs in the nation. And we know when you get 2,000 yards, Carl, you're going to New York. Because not only are you buying your ticket, you walking them many miles when you get 2,000 yards. Touch that list and let me think what you got for me.
Listen, first of all, obviously you got Carson Beck on there. Jalen Milroe hasn't proven that he can consistently throw the ball well enough to be in the Heisman Trophy conversation. Now, you talk about me being all about St. Louis. You talk about me being all about Prime. You're going to always find a way to sneak an Alabama guy in the conversation. Always. I think Jalen Milroe did some great things last year on the field. He turned things around for Alabama. But in order for him to be in the Heisman Trophy conversation, he's going to have to show that he can consistently make passes, and he does have the coaching staff who has a history of throwing the ball around. Kalen DeBoer and now Nick Sheridan getting promoted to offensive coordinator. He's going to have every single opportunity to do so. Now, you said something earlier about health as it related to Travis Hunter. Quinn Ewers also has some things where he got injured in the middle of the season and Malik Murphy had to play. Steve Sarkisian is of the same cloth as Lane Kiffin as the offensive coordinator. So I don't hate your Quinn Ewers pick here, but he also has to show that he can stay healthy and that he can be consistent. He has yet to have a full consistent season at quarterback himself, but if he does, Texas could be special this season.
Well, let me help you out on this real quick there, Coach. C.J. Baxter, running back. Clean that box up. We're going to have a light box. Isaiah Bond, right? 007, touchdown, bombs. Before Quinn Ewers got hurt last year, you know he was in the conversation to go to New York. You know that, right?
Whose conversation?
The world's conversation. You and I's conversation.
We talked about that?
Man, you know we did. This guy was a top 5 guy going into it.
He was.
Until he got hurt. So if he was top 5 last year, why isn't he going to be top 5 this year? And let's touch a little bit back on Jalen Milroe. You know he did finish in the top 10 in the Heisman votes last year, Carl. Just to give you a little bit of info. All the guys on my list, except one, Dylan Gabriel, they were in the top 10 voting last year.
You said in your segment, you said last year a lot. But if a girl hugs you last year, you can't still feel it today. Last year is last year. You got to be able to move on. And so moving forward, and remember that Texas is not going to be in the Big 12 this year. They are going to be in the SEC. And we both know that that's a different level of football down there.
In proving my point, we all know that at some point we have to have that game. Texas versus Georgia, they're playing, right? Correct. That's when each one of those players can create that big-time Heisman moment, the winning drive, that winning throw, to walk up on that stage and get that trophy. All of my candidates, they have those games. They have players around them. They have opportunities for votes. They're not stealing votes from their teammates. It's not a wish factor. It's not a dream. Right now, I think you're closing your eyes, 2 hands under your chin, and you're praying that one of those guys, and there's only one, number 4, Carson Beck, that's going to have an opportunity out of this list that you came up with 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago, believing that you can run that past me and I'll let it slide. Now, I ain't going to let that slide. I'm going to bust you over the head like I've been doing all year.
Listen to this, though, Smoke. I hear what you're saying, right? But is smoke your name or smoking what you do? Because when you're talking about a running back in this era, offense running for 2,000 yards, you got to make that make sense to me on how that's going to happen. People don't even run the ball enough anymore for a back in this era to get 2,000 yards. With the quarterbacks that we have playing this year in college football, I don't think that there's any chance that a running back has the opportunity to win a Heisman Trophy. That's a major, major, major reach, right? And your arms, I've seen them. They're not long enough to reach that far across the table.
Carl, you know my arms ain't long, but I do my curl workout, and my biceps are on deck right now. You know that. But listen, you don't need a lot of reps to get 2,000 yards. This guy was averaging close to 7 yards per carry last year. Every time he touched the ball, something great happened. They don't have many weapons on that team. And looking at that schedule, they're going to run right through it. They're going to be in the conversation of winning the Big 12, and also 6 yards a carry last year, 26 touchdowns, 2,000 yards, 2,040 yards in 27 games. That's his career stats. He's going to double that. He'll be a 4,000-yard guy by the end of he get out of there, and he's going to be a 2,000-yard rusher. Promise me on that. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
You said that a lot of great things happened at Oklahoma State this last year. I watched college football with you every Saturday. There has to be somebody that played at Alabama on the football staff at Oklahoma State.
No shot. You sat here with me on Saturdays, and one of those Saturdays, when we had to do that guy that was going to come up and he's going to be that game changer, you remember I said Ollie Gordon III? Because he had, 3 200-yard games in a row, and your mouth dropped and said, man, who is this kid? And I said, hey, listen, just keep watching. He's going to be lightning in the bottle. You're going to see him, and the next time that you see him, you're going to see the back of that number, and he's going to be in the end zone. But instead of just seeing the back of his number, he's going to be in New York, sitting there with a nice fit on, sitting back, while I'm eating one of your meals again that you promised me to make after you lost 2 of your bets already. This will be the third one, this Heisman list, and we'll get that going. Just be ready to get on that grill, smoke up all that good food, get that Kansas City barbecue ready for me, because this is another W. That smoke just drummed you over your head, Coach Reed.
First of all, never mistake Kansas City with St. Louis. Never do that again, all right? That's the first thing. The second thing, Smoke, you know I love to keep my receipts. So we're going to have the producers chop this clip up, and we'll be back here again in the fall to revisit this.
My man.